trust John Brown to be in the right place. He certainly doesn't trust his tight end because Jermaine Gresham he just doesn't get involved. We'll get into that. Larry Fitzgerald is a Hall of Famer and the guy you trust to throw the ball to. Yeah, he's in my lineup. I'm staring right at him.
Yeah, I also like DeAndre Hopkins, 7,600. Is that level of value?
Yeah, you would, because mixing him in there with Brock Osweiler. Look, he's got to have a good day sometime, and this is probably it.
If he doesn't do it this week, don't start DeAndre Hopkins for the rest of the year. Trade him to one of your buddies, dangle him in front on Standard League if you got him, like you got DeAndre. I also like Brandon Marshall. I think he's going to have a great game against Cleveland. He's questionable, but he's just a little sore. He's a tough guy. He'll motor through it.
He will. He's a pro, and BM's got movement, man. He'll be back on the field. He plays with foot injuries all the time. It's not a big deal, I don't think.
Right.
So give me a cheap wide receiver. There really isn't a whole lot of depth this week, like the sneaky play, or at least there's not anything that's out in the forefront that you see and go, you know what, that might be interesting. I don't have anybody jumping out at me. Do you?
Yeah, I do, and they're the same price. So given the way that we really like certain matchups over others because of the spread and obviously the amount of offense that's going to be generated, if you look to, and there's only a couple guys, like I said, and this is the reason why we went heavier on the big guns. Mm-hmm. I like Randall Cobb or Devontae Adams. Okay. Randall 6,800, Devontae 66. I expect Randall to continue. I don't expect Devontae to have another huge game. That was kind of weird, the way they all went off.
Yeah.
Ty Montgomery, Randall, and
they threw the ball 59 times or something too. I mean, that would definitely explain it.
Yeah. But Randall seemed to got his stride. He's got a hamstring, but I think it's more precautionary. So if you look at that and if he's going to play, I think, and if not, awesome. Then definitely Devontae Adams.
Sure.
So actually, maybe we should hope Randall Cobb doesn't play.
Maybe it could be really helpful for that. I want to throw a name out there for you, though, and this is in a lineup that if you're not starting a Larry Fitzgerald, somebody dirt cheap at 4,500. I am not afraid at all, and I would actually like to suggest J.J. Nelson. He is a wide receiver who has an opportunity to move up into that slot position in Arizona. He is an absolute burner. I've watched this kid play 4 or 5 times. You got John Brown with leg and hamstring issues that have hindered him for a while now, coming back from a concussion. He's still not right. Jerron Brown is completely out. I think it was a torn ACL, and he's out for the season.
He's done. He's not even showing up as a choice.
Yeah, he's done. But watch this J.J. Nelson kid. The one thing that intrigues me the most about him is he flat out flies. He's one of the fastest people I've ever seen, and he can catch. Bruce Arians loves him. Watch Bruce Arians look to show this kid off a little bit. Arians has got some swag. I hate that word. Sorry I even said it. But he's got a little flair to him where he's going to want to show off his toy. He's tried to get this kid involved. In the last week, he did actually have, I believe, 7 targets. It was 3 catches, 7 targets, but 84 yards. It resulted in 10 points because, again, David Johnson is a touchdown thief. But look for this kid. As a cheap play, I don't want to promote him, but as a cheap wide receiver, if you get in a position where you top out on all your chalk and you want to just stuff somebody in there who might have a day, he might be a guy in your tournament games who could separate you from the pack. So I'm not afraid of it. A little crazy, but not afraid of it.
That's great advice. I mean, considering the offense and the lack of wide receivers, stars, someone needs to step up. And
kid could step up. What happens if he pops a 75-yarder for a touchdown? Maybe he gets a little end around or a little trickeration. Bruce Arians loves a flea flicker.
It's almost the same logic that we used when we started a Michael Thomas.
That's exactly right. He's that one guy. Now, Michael Thomas is another guy this week that I'm absolutely 100% not afraid to plug into. I think that New Orleans is actually going to beat Seattle in New Orleans this week.
And I think he's the only guy that I might start in the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't love Brandon Cooks going up against bigger corners this week, but Michael Thomas is a very tight possession guy. Drew Brees and he have seemed to create quite a bit of a rapport. Thomas last week, 13 targets, 10 catches, 130 yards. Didn't find the end zone last week, but he has 3 times this season. That's pretty impressive for a rookie wide receiver. Smart player, doing all the things the right way. That makes all the difference to a veteran quarterback like a Drew Brees when knows he can trust you. So I wouldn't be afraid to plug him in either as a cheap play. If you do plug him in like a J.J. Nelson in, there's potential to make room for a particular tight end that you finally showed up last week. Let's go to tight ends, Mike.
Tight ends, if we can go with, because I'm not overall impressed with the position this year like I was last year. They're just not showing up. So that makes it easy because I'm really just not into Gronk even. He's like a bumbling, stumbling truck. I know he's performing really well, but he doesn't have the quickness that he used to have. Greg Olsen obviously is the man, but he's always expensive. So I really just like matchups alone this week. And Fedorowicz, C.J. Fedorowicz out of Houston against Detroit. I think that's one of the guys. I think it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins are going to catch some passes and a touchdown.
Sure.
And I think our buddy is going to, Fedorowicz is going to catch, 60 yards, 6 catches, and a touchdown as well. And that then puts us at the top of what tight ends are doing this year.
He is beginning to make a name for himself in Houston, that's for sure. I'm going to plug in this particular lineup I'm working on right now. I'm plugging in Gronk, and this is my value lineup with guys like J.J. Nelson and Michael Thomas. I'm plugging in Gronk. The guy, the last 3 weeks, has started to show up and hit his stride. Last week he was 4 targets, 4 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. He popped the big one. Prior to that against Cincinnati, 9 targets, 7 catches, 162 yards, and a touchdown. And as he was getting warmed up against Cleveland, 7 targets, 5 catches, 109 yards. Yeah, he hasn't had the 3-touchdown day yet, but he's about to. I don't know if he's going to do it against Buffalo, but he's about to. I'm waiting for this guy to get loose and start to go off and start to be worth every bit of that 8,100. So in this particular lineup where I do have some leftover scratch, I'm bringing the tight end chalk play in.
Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where I think, I don't want to say, you wouldn't want to start Gronk because she is.
When do you ever say that? Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah, but at the same time, Buffalo is the 3rd best as far as, not giving points away to the tight end position. So given that metric, they've only given up 31 points total to that position. Now, again, they haven't played Gronk. Well,
I was going to say, let's go back and look at the tight ends that they've played.
Yeah, Gronk wasn't in, I don't think.
He was, but I think he had 1 catch for 11 yards in that game, and that was also the Jacoby Brissett game.
Okay, so yeah, we won't hold that against him then.
Yeah, you really can't. I'm not impressed with what they've done against tight ends because they haven't faced a good one.
That's true. They haven't. Dennis Pitta, I guess, is he a good one?
Yeah, Pitta average week 1, and that was a 13-7 final. That game was non-offense. It was a very, very slow, very defensive, boring game. They played the Jets, who don't have a tight end identity. Neither does Arizona. New England at the time did not have Gronk on the field healthy. I think, like I said, he may have had 1 or 2 catches for like 12 yards, 11 yards. And then the Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers, Miami last week, doesn't play with a tight end apparently. So I'm loving Gronk this week. I think he continues to climb the ladder and get big numbers and earn that $8,100 value.
Yeah, you know what? You sold me on it. If I would do a lineup where I would probably go Spencer Ware, Devontae, and then I would have some money left over that I would have to not go top tier for my second wide receiver spot. Go middle of the road.
Sure.
And,
makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think I'm going to pull one of those. I wouldn't rely on all of my lineups this week with Gronk in it. I don't trust.
No, and you wouldn't have the financial room to do it, I don't think.
No, it would be for different reasons. We'd be doing the same philosophy of starting one lineup with the guy like we're going to do with Osweiler. But trust me, Gronk doesn't deserve that treatment. Osweiler does.
I can't bring myself to do it with Brock Osweiler. I just can't.
Man, imagine if he gets 22 points. You're going to fucking be so happy.
Hey, I'm going to pat you on the back. I will, but I can't. I just can't do it. What I can't do is I can't sit down and watch the Houston Texans, the Detroit Lions, and watch Brock Osweiler. Look, he is the first person I've ever seen in my entire life fumble a pass. Did you see that Monday night?
I didn't. That's just funny you say it like that.
It's the hardest thing to explain. Arm comes back, ball goes forward with a perfect tight spiral, goes forward about 6 yards, and Denver recovers, and it's a fumble. And Osweiler looked at the official going, that ball, it looked like it had the spin, looked like he spun it, but it came out of the back of his hand like a curveball. It was the oddest thing I've ever seen, but he actually fumbled a pass that the other team recovered. So at that moment, I thought, God, this guy is just absolutely terrible. And you've noticed on our social media feeds, I've just been bashing Brock Osweiler all week because I'm just sick of watching.
I've been enjoying it. Like I said, the guy definitely stolen his money. So I'm thinking maybe, again, I would be surprised if he does break out, but I'm just chancing it because he's so cheap. I mean, there's only 2 guys that are in that realm of dollar value.
Well, I can tell you that at $72 million contract, the Houston Texan fans opened up a GoFundMe account this week to try to raise enough money to buy Brock Osweiler out of his contract so he will go home.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that bad. And if he shows up Sunday at home against the Lions off of that piece of shit performance Monday night, and if he stinks for even the slightest second, the Boo Birds will be out so heavily in Houston that I don't. And I'm looking at him too. I'm watching him manage the clock. I'm watching him looking back and forth in the sidelines. I'm noticing that his relationship with Bill O'Brien, the head coach, is getting worse. There is strain going on. He is not doing the things that O'Brien needs him to be doing, and that strain causes a player to fall apart as the game goes on. Now, he may come out and go lights out against a bad Detroit defense, or this could be a get-right game for Detroit. I'm scared to death of Brock Osweiler, and I'm going nowhere near him. But look, I've heard everybody. You're the expert. I've heard all the experts all day long. In the last couple of days, this is a great matchup. But for me, I can't do it.
Yeah, no, and you're trust me, you're right.
Yeah, I understand you're taking it. This is with predicated risk. This is a gamble of all gambles, but not for me.
Yeah, and again, I really have to see. Maybe I want to use him that one time if I'm using that Gronk pick. I keep my fingers crossed so I can get 20 points from him, and Gronk does his magic.
Well, let's slide on out of here, man. We got to do kickers and defense and call it an evening.
Man, I'll make it really easy for you.
Good.
Obviously, whenever you can, you want to start Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah, I agree.
You probably can't. So I really like, as far as matchups this week, I like Nick Novak.
Okay.
$4,500. If you see what he's averaging, he's only had 2 games where he was single digits.
Yeah.
And I think the matchup is going to afford, I think you're not going to see a lot of touchdowns overall with their running game per se. Lamar Miller is kind of hype. So I think you're just going to see a lot of scoring opportunities for Nick Novak, and he's so cheap. And then defenses, obviously I like all the expensive ones.
Denver, I'm with you, man.
I like Denver. I like Arizona. Seattle, possibly. They're only 4,500. But, again, it's at New Orleans, so I don't know how I just don't trust Drew Brees to fall apart.
I don't either. He's way too good of a player. We're future Hall of Famer here.
Yeah, so Kansas City is a great matchup. Again, this is another 4,500er. So we have one. Arizona's 4,600.
Yeah.
And then Denver's 5. So depending on how we can fit them. But my sneaky play of the week, my really sneaky, San Diego Chargers.
Yeah.
4,200 now, or excuse me, 4,200.
4,200.
What they did at Denver at home, having Denver at home, they got 12 points. I know. I believe Joey Bosa is playing better.
He
now.
Really is. He's showing he's worthy of that pick and worth the wait.
Yeah. So their defense, I think it's going to be not a low scoring game, but I think they could put 10 points, 15. Like I said, nothing stood out to me that said, here's the 25-pointer. But again, I didn't see it last week either, so maybe this is my Achilles heel this week. So I guess because of value alone, I like the Chargers.
Well, I'm going to get, and I understand that. I really do. And Trevor Simeon's a young man playing well, but you never know. I like the Joey Bosa play off the end. He looks good. But I'm going to give you a really off-the-wall pick, and you're not going to like this in a handful of your plays. But based on what I just said about Brock Osweiler,
Detroit?